Based on the latest federal government data, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is going to miss his 2020 target for reducing Canada's greenhouse gas emissions linked to climate change by 99.2%. What should that tell us about his 2030 and 2050 targets? The first thing it should tell us is that those targets are absurd. They're so far in the future that it's impossible to be able to predict what's going to happen. For example, in order for Justin Trudeau to meet his 2020 target, he would have to reduce our emissions by 123 million tons in less than 2 months. That would be the equivalent of shutting down all of Canada's agricultural sector and most of its electricity sector in less than 2 months. That's absurd. The reality is that Canadian governments, both Conservative and Liberal, have been setting ridiculous targets and not meeting them for more than 30 years. In 1998, when John Chrétien signed the Kyoto Accord, the Liberal government knew it wasn't going to be able to hit those targets. An aide to Jean Chrétien acknowledged as much in 2007 after the Liberals were out of power. So again, what does this tell us about Trudeau's 2030 and 2050 targets? It tells us that it's absurd to try and predict what's going to happen a decade from now or 3 decades from now. Justin Trudeau in 2015 couldn't predict the size of his federal government deficit in 2020. In 2015, he said we'd have a $1 billion surplus. In 2020, we ended up with a $26.6 billion deficit before the pandemic hit. If politicians want us to take seriously the issue of global warming and climate change, then they're going to have to start being realistic about what can be realistically done and when. I'm Laurie Goldstein of the Toronto Sun. We're always interested in your views. Please follow us on Facebook and our YouTube channel.